You kind of inspired me right now, let me say, especially the point where we were talking about the future of education and how much, education is important, and how much people are left in the dark about the future, whether it's AI or in general. And, I think if people do watch our podcast pretty much, they will learn something new, and it's something useful, and it's something that they can share with others, and it can leave a positive impact. So I'm curious, the last question I want to ask you is, what do you think the future of education is going to be?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about technology and advances in
Right.
technology a lot, and I think that the advances of technology and its effects are disruptive in nature to all industries, and the education sector is no different. Technology is completely changing the basic processes in which learning and teaching take place. It's revolutionizing existing infrastructures, systems, institutions, and even long-standing behavioral patterns and ingrained beliefs surrounding education. I think that technology is going to change education in profound ways. And some of those ways, number one, is really increasing accessibility. I think technology already has and will continue to break geographical barriers that limited access to education in the past. Nowadays, you have
Mm-hmm.
most institutions of higher learning are offering some of their courses on online basis. There are also universities that are thriving by offering all their courses and programs online. So anyone can access a desirable formal education online from anywhere. Accessibility will continue to increase into the future. The second way I think education will change with technology is through increasing flexibility. I think that's incredibly valuable. With the rise of virtual learning and increased access to
Mm-hmm.
online education, you don't have to be limited to certain physical locations, nor you are forced to adhere to strict schedules and timelines to study like we're used
Right.
to in the traditional ways.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is really making it easy for anyone to learn from anywhere at their own pace, depending on, of course, the learner's ability. As long as you schedule an amount of time and you're willing to devote time to learning and making the effort, you have access and you have the flexibility. The third change is another important factor, which is reducing costs for both education providers and learners. Using technology on both ends, the providers can use technological applications to provide the education, and that's decreasing their cost tremendously in terms of how they operate. Also, for learners, it's leading drastic reductions in the costs that they have to incur while accessing education. So, cost reductions due to the use of various technological applications will continue to benefit all stakeholders in the education sector. The fourth one, which I think is interesting too, is really changing how teachers and learners interact. In the
Interesting.
past, teachers, they solely relied on actual meetings to deliver educational materials and interact with their students, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, and also moving into the future, the absolute dependence on physical meetings is gone. Technology is, I mean, look at us
Yeah.
now. So technology is really providing both the teachers and the students a means in which they can interact and remain in touch all the time through applications and internet-based services, and this is absolutely great. The
Incredible.
fifth one, the fifth one I think is also very interesting is how we take tests when it comes to online tests and assessments. Now you have the ability to assess the performance of learners online without requiring them to necessarily attend assessment sessions physically, like we're also used
Mm-hmm.
to. So
Right.
there's tremendous advantage in terms of flexibility, in terms of efficiency, in terms of impartiality of e-assessments for both sides as well. And students can accurately kind of get a feel of their own performance while education institutions can accurately and efficiently assess their learners using online assessments, which means they also save time and money and other resources. Another one I think is very, very important is being able to accommodate the interests of learners who have special needs. And I think that's been like
Mm-hmm.
absolutely underrepresented in terms of providing education to people with special needs. It's been very lacking in the history of education. It's one of the
Right.
most critical issues because we have very standardized and rigid procedures that
Mm-hmm.
learners and teachers go through in traditional classrooms. So that's why you see a lot of people, a lot of children who have special needs, they kind of become outcast because the system cannot really cater to their needs, and that inevitably works against their interests. So with technology, you can actually provide more flexibility to give access to interactive educational environments that suit the personal needs and capabilities, and even the challenges that learners with various disabilities face.
Wow.
Another one is lifelong learning. So we talked about that very early in the conversation, is that you have to seek out the knowledge, and part of technology can really enable that, especially in a technology-driven and technology-powered world. We have to learn new skills and we have to adapt to the changes that are happening constantly. With the rise of different technology-based educational platforms and all these new applications and online courses available to all of us, learning is becoming a truly lifelong activity and part of everyone's life, since you can learn about anything at any time. So moving into the future, digital learning will definitely become essential, and upskilling the workforce as well, and helping people to integrate much faster as things change in industries. And there's so much more.
Everything's changing, it sounds like. Right?
Everything is changing. Everything is changing. And you know, like, I think one of the most understated impacts is really making learning fun again.
Right.
Like, since when learning was fun before technology? Right. One of the main ways in which technology is and will be changing education relates to the various forms in which learning content is now delivered. I think as a result of technology, there are many forms of content that teachers can use to enhance the process of learning and teaching, from the use of videos, animations, games. We have now VR and AR, and we're going into the metaverse. Nice. So as a result, you know, the learning and teaching is it is now much more fun and more meaningful than the way it was in the past. And it will continue to become even much more fun with the metaverse bringing in a more full immersion into a digital classroom environment where students can start to interact with the learning content in very different ways. We're heading in a really interesting direction, and I think it's a matter of adapting to the change, learning the tools and the skills, and taking advantage of all these amazing opportunities in which technology is making education better for all of us, and more accessible and flexible and engaging for all of us.
Very exciting, I'll say. It's very exciting, you know, the way education is going. And I'm so you know, this podcast itself was so educational, and I felt like so in the dark, but I feel like, you know, talking to you now, I feel like 10 years in the future, honestly. So everyone listening to this, I hope you learned something and took something out of it. I definitely did, and share with others, especially younger people that, you know, can benefit from, you know, this kind of specific knowledge. And all of us, right? We're all lifelong learners now, as you say. Rania, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. What an honor.
Thank you.
How cool is it, honestly?
Yes, really, thank you. Your insight has been, it's providing us with so much knowledge right now. And this is something that should be in the education system, you know, this kind of information. People should learn about this.
All right, Rania, you got to go do some important work. I got to go edit this podcast. Saeed's got to go watch the Batman. Right?
Yes, the new Batman movie. You got to watch it.
All right, signing out. All right, see you later. Thank you so much.
See you later. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Ali and Saeed. It was such a pleasure to be with you on the show. See you later.
Adios.
Thank you.